Hello everyone, welcome back to Art a la Carte, and in this episode of Digital Drawing 101 I'm going to give us an overview of a digital art program that a lot of us are probably somewhat familiar with or have at least heard of, which is Photoshop.
Pencil and some paper, and the best part is having lots of fun with Art a la Carte.
I started using Photoshop, I think back in 2005. I had Photoshop CS2 and used that for a gazillion years until actually just last year I finally upgraded to the Creative Cloud, and that's now the program that I use currently. This video is not going to be a tutorial based where I'm not going to really get into the super duper nuts and bolts on how to use Photoshop. I'm going to give you a slight overview so that if you're new to the software you can kind of begin to navigate it. I'm going to give you some information so that you can get a free trial for Photoshop, and then some pros and cons on whether or not to purchase this. So let's get started. So when you first open Photoshop up, this is the overview, or kind of like the workstation. This is actually how I have it set up. One thing I really appreciated about Photoshop is that you can totally customize how your workstation is set up. So this is how I have mine. There's really no right or wrong. It's kind of just to every artist's particular preference. So over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to have your kind of table of tools here, and again these are completely customizable. You can move them around however you want to, and decide which ones you want. Preferably if they have this little arrow next to them in the bottom corner, that means that there are even more tools listed underneath that. You'll also see next to each of these tools, some of them have letters or numbers attached to them. That goes with the hotkeys. So I can switch between my tools by just hitting a key button on my keyboard. I can go to a loop tool, I can go to my eraser, just by hitting a key on my keyboard, which is really nice if you're drawing down here and you want to switch. It's just really easy with the other hand to then go and push your hotkey and switch around with that. So the ones I have featured out is I have my move tool, a shape select tool, a free select tool, the magic wand, a resize tool, the eyedropper to pick up different colors. Yeah, I don't know what that is, brush or a pen tool. I prefer to keep it on the brush just because the pencil tool is very pixelated. Let me get this a little bit bigger here. So you're going to have kind of that jaggedy line going along there, where if you use the brush tool, it smooths it out a little bit by kind of blurring. So if I get in there really thick here and we zoom in a little bit, you'll see that it kind of fades out just a little bit. So I don't have that really harsh pixelation there. I have just a really smooth kind of a line there. So I like the brush tool myself just a little bit better. Also, we have the kind of stamp or clone tool. I don't use that too much. We have the history brush tool. I don't use that. We have the eraser tool. I do use that a lot. Erases all your different things that you want, and you can also totally change that as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can get into with that. I'm not going to get into it today. There's the fill tool. So if I take and draw a shape and it's completely enclosed and I use the fill tool, I can fill that whole area. And depending on like these settings up here, it will fill further in or leave more of, like this one has a little bit of a white area around there. Just depends on what you want. There is a smudge tool, which allows you to then blend and smudge and smear, which makes for some really fun effects. There is the burn tool, a dodge tool, or a sponge tool. I really like the burn tool because it helps me to add some shadows really easily. There is the pen tool. The pen tool allows me to create pretty much a number of different shapes. They can either be these straight lines, or I can kind of curve them however I want and then close it off by ending that. And then I can even go back and readjust things, adding more points to fix things around there. It's nice, and then you can kind of select it to create a line or fill or anything like that, and it creates your line. There is a text tool which allows you to create text. So you can write a little text out there. And there is, again, a ton of stuff you can do with the text. The hand, which moves everything around, and your zoom in, zoom out, which also I don't really use this one here because I use it here on the side of my Navigator. I can zoom in and zoom out. You have your 2 different color choices that you can have at the ready right there. But of course up here you have your total selection of colors. So I have my swatches and my color palette set out, so I can have these colors here, and you can either choose and create your own swatch palette, or you can go into the libraries and choose theirs. I like this one because it has all, it has darker colors and it has pastel colors and all that. And then it also keeps my primaries and like the more used colors right here, and then it keeps the history of all my colors. So as I go through here and pick up different colors, it keeps a logging history here of those colors. Or you can just go here to this palette part and just pull out whatever color and the saturation level and all that as well. Down here is your Navigator. This shows you your entire work screen. So this red box is my camera, or kind of, what this part here sees. So as I zoom in, it lets me know where I am, but I can easily touch another part of the screen and it will jump over there. Game mode, I'm on a text screen. Okay, there we go. And I can draw something here and then jump back over here. I can jump down over here. And then when I zoom out, I can see all of it. So it just jumps me easily around the whole picture. Now at the top here, it does have some extra things that you can do as you've selected these side tools. Then you can go through here and really focus exactly what you want them to do. And there's so much that you can do. My favorite thing is the opacity levels and the flow levels. Let me zoom in just a little bit more for this part. So the opacity level gives me how dark the color is going to be. So there's a lower opacity, here's a higher opacity. And then if it has a lower, as it goes over top of it, you're going to see that it will begin to darken in those areas, which is nice if I want a sketched look. It kind of works more like a colored pencil. The flow is how much ink is coming out of the pen at that time. Let's get a little bit bigger here so we can see. So if I have, there's a halfway, and then if I do really lower, you're getting a much softer look. If I do a higher, you're going to get a really flooded area. So you can really make these tools act like physical tools, physical paintbrushes, physical pencils. You can download other brushes that actually will give you the textures and things like that. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to give a little sample drawing just so you can kind of see how I work through all the different tools while I give you some pros and cons and other tips. If you have never used Photoshop before, something I really appreciate about the product as well is they allow you to have a 30-day free trial. So you can try out the product and make sure that 1, you enjoy using it, and 2, which is really important, that it works well with your computer. The computer I had before this was a little bit slower and I was not able to handle it, so I actually had to get a new computer to be able to handle all the new software information, because Photoshop does take a lot out of your computer. So I would really recommend, before you go out and purchase it, to use that free trial and try it out for 30 days. The reason is because this is not a cheap program. Photoshop is very expensive. Nowadays they do a Creative Cloud, which is nicer. It's actually a rental. You rent the software, so you don't actually get a physical copy, but you rent it for $20 a month. Thing with that is you have to sign into a year-long contract. So you actually are renting it for a year, but you get to pay a little bit of that rental fee every month. The nice thing about that is that you get the newest and updated version. If you went out and purchased it outright, you would have to pay upgrade fees to get the upgraded new versions. But with Creative Cloud, you just get whatever is the newest and coolest thing. In fact, I just did an update on this. It kind of changed everything around. I had to reset everything. And so it's a little confusing and frustrating when they update and I'm not ready for it. And I come and I look, and my Photoshop is has a totally different interface. You kind of have to relearn everything. But yeah. So for cons on this program, I would have to say the price is a little bit of a negative for me, but you have to understand that you're getting what you pay for. Photoshop is an amazing program. It does a ton of stuff. Originally, it was not set up to be an artist creative thing. It was meant for photos, hence the name Photoshop, but the art community has embraced it, and we use a lot of it, and a lot of us use it for drawing. So it is probably one of the more high-end digital softwares. It's a big investment. If you're not into digital drawing, if you're just getting into it, if you're kind of just a hobbyist at it, and you're buying this stuff yourself, I would maybe consider purchasing a more affordable software before investing into this. For the pluses, it does a lot. It has served me well for many, many, many years. I'm able to do all of my different digital drawing. In fact, most of the digital drawing that you have seen in the past, up to maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, has been solely Photoshop. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about a software that I have recently purchased that I really, really like. And I think it is fastly becoming my favorite software. It doesn't have as many things that it can do as Photoshop does, but it does exactly what I need it to do. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 things that it can't do that Photoshop can do. And I'm just kind of having to weigh if it's worth the extra cost to keep Photoshop and figure out a different way to do things I want to do. So this kind of gives you a little overview of kind of, just my thoughts on this software. And again, I want to make a more intensive video that really answers a lot of the questions that you guys have, specifically geared to Photoshop. So any questions you have, let me know in the comment section below, and I will answer as many as I can in an upcoming video. If you ask me a question I don't know the answer to, obviously I can't answer it. But if I know the answer or can give you a resource to find that information, I will definitely do that. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me and checking out this little video. Let me know your thoughts on Photoshop. If you've used it before, and if you have any tricks or tips with Photoshop, share those in the comment section below. I love this channel because it is a learning channel where it's just not me sharing what I know, but you guys get to share your information, and from that we just grow in our ability to know more about art and now digital software, so that's awesome. Well, that's all for today, so until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.